Welcome into the In the Money podcast for Belmont Stakes Day in New York. Al Leach, along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Mutuals and Simulcasting. And it's a spectacular day of racing, bunch of grade ones, headlined by the Belmont Stakes, even without Classic Empire, who was scratched out this week with a foot issue. Bunch of graded stakes races, as we said, and they start early in the third race, the Grade 2 Brooklyn, Jim, and you got a horse that had a 119 buyer figure last time and send it in. Can you beat him?
Well, sure, because the horse that ran behind him had a 118, 2 Brutus. So, there's only half a length difference. So, it's a 2-horse race. It's a short field here in the early going. The Brooklyn Invitational is Grade 2. It's a nice race, but Send It In got a 119 in the Excelsior on April 8th, but 2 Brutus got the 118 right behind him and then came back and won by 11 with a 109 buyer in a mile and 3/8 at Belmont. So I think the stretch out here at a mile and a half is perfect for 2 Brutus. He also has the controlling speed. So I'm going to try to beat a horse with a 119 buyer because 2 Brutus is really good right now. And I might get a little better price. I'm not sure. It's 7-5 and 2-1 on the morning line, but it's certainly a 2-horse field. But I'm going with 2 Brutus for Gary Contessa.
I'll go the other way and take Send It In to win. The only other horse that I would throw into the mix is Sunny Ridge. Jason Service is a sharp trainer, and this horse has kept some good company. And I don't know that I would see him winning, but if you want to bet an exacta, try to find somebody other than the top 2 to hit the second spot. Maybe Sunny Ridge is one to look at. We'll move on to the 4th race, the Grade 1 Acorn Stakes, and you've got the Oaks winner, Abel Tasman, running in here. You've got Sweet Loretta, who was a real nice winner of a stake at Keeneland in the spring. But I am actually going to another horse, Salty, coming out of the Kentucky Oaks. Salty was in the 14th post position, and Abel Tasman was out there wide 2 and 13, but she's a little more experienced than Salty was, and I think Salty's going to really benefit from that experience. Now cuts back from a mile and an eighth to a mile, which I think she will really like as well. And I think you might get 3.5, 4 to 1 on Salty in here with Baffert and Fletcher having 2 of the leading contenders. So I'm going to take Salty to win the Acorn and use her with Abel Tasman, Sweet Loretta, and Tequilita I would perhaps use as well. But Salty for me in the Grade 1 Acorn. How about you?
Yeah, I like her, and I think she drew the outside again, but it's only an 8-horse field, so it's not going to compromise her as much as it did in the Oaks. But I don't like Abel Tasman here. I think it's too short for her. She needs that fast pace to set up her late kick, and she came from way out of it to win the Oaks. I went with Sweet Loretta, the 7-horse coming out of the Beaumont at Keeneland, and won that race by 3. And I think stretching out from 7 furlongs to a mile is perfect for her. If you throw out the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, where she stumbled early, she was 5 to 1 in that field, and other than that, she's 4 for 4, and nobody's come close to her. So I'm going to take Sweet Loretta here, and I really like her a lot. I'm going to key her and pick 3s. Try to hit something as a price in the next race, and not next race, in the 6th race. The Ogden Phipps is going to be a kind of a walkover. So I think in the 6th race is when I was going to try to get a price. So Sweet Loretta, the 7, is my pick here, and I really like her a lot, stretching out to a mile in the Grade 1 Acorn.
I wonder where you were going to find a price in the Phipps. The Grade 1 Ogden Phipps is the next race, and Songbird makes her first start since Breeders' Cup weekend here. And that you would think that would be the only way to beat her, is that she's not 100% off the layoff. But you going to try to do that?
Yeah, no. I think there's 2 ways to beat her. That if she just doesn't make it, something happens to her on the way to the track and she stumbles or something. But I think she's obviously the class of the field here. The only horse that I thought that had an outside shot, and I don't think the weather is going to cooperate. If Bar of Gold caught a sloppy track, you can move her way up, because she did get a 109 buyer on a sloppy track back in October at Belmont. So she's obviously proven over the track. But with good weather, I think Songbird is 1 to 2 is a generous price on her. I think she's going to be like 1 to 9. But I would just sit back and watch this one. I don't think it's bettable unless you want to take Bar of Gold to beat Karina Mia for second. But Songbird is. Hope you get some good pictures of her in the paddock area, because she's a superstar, and it's going to be fun to see her back.
One way you could play this, there's we talked about the Brooklyn. There's really two that we like in there. You could take a stand on one of the horses we like in the next race, or use them both, and then single Songbird in like a pick three. And Abel Tasman's probably going to be the favorite in the Acorn, I would think, coming off the Oaks win. So maybe you could turn that 1-9 on Songbird into something better that way. So one way to think about a way to play using Songbird without just betting her straight to win in that race, because she'd be my pick too. Karina Mia is the only one I could see beating her, but I tried Karina Mia last year in the race at Parks, and she just didn't. Just not good enough, I don't think. So Songbird looks like a sure thing in the fifth. Sixth race is the Grade 3 Jaipur, and there's not a sure thing in here. You got a well-matched group. I took Pure Sensation to come back and win the race for the second year in a row. Second start off a layoff, and I think that he should benefit from that first start, which was on the wet turf down at Churchill on Derby weekend, and I think that can serve him well. But undrafted, certainly one that bears paying close attention to. He's getting up there in years, but looked good in his win at Keeneland. And this horse usually runs in 5 furlong races, and that's really probably a little shorter than his ideal distance, but that's where most turf sprints are contested. This race, he gets 6 furlongs, and I think that helps undrafted. So especially if the price drifts up a little bit, I think he'll come running late. We'll see if he's just good enough to get there. Stormy Liberal, Green Mask, Disco Partners are the others that I would use. Probably the key around Pure Sensation. I expect him to run big, so first or second. So key him with those others in exactas, and I'll take Pure Sensation to win the Jaipur. And if you're doing multi-race wagers, I'd probably use all of those in multi-race wagers, because there's certainly, I don't think, a standout here. How about you?
Yeah, I think I will end the pick 3 in the sixth race with as many of these as I can afford. And by singling Songbird, you may just do an all. Because I think you can make a case for most of the horses in here. Stormy Liberal is a interesting horse they ship from California, but seems to be a specialist on that downhill turf course at Santa Anita. So he hasn't had any experience on the East Coast. I don't even know if he's been out of California. So Stormy Liberal might have a shot here. He's certainly quick enough. Pure Sensation would be my pick if you toss the last race at Churchill, just assuming he didn't like the little bit of off going on Oaks Day. So Green Mask beat him that day. Green Mask is certainly a contender here with 2 for 6 at Belmont and a number of triple-digit buyers in his history. Hoagie with a 103 buyer at Fairgrounds in a 5.5 turf race, and Kim's out of the Shakertown with Holding Gold and Green Mask. That could be a key race as well. So I'm going to use most of them here. Pure Sensation would probably be a win pick, but don't know that I'm going to take 3-1 in this field. So I'm going to spread in the pick 3s here.
Seventh race is the Grade 2 Woody Stevens for 3-year-olds, and this is a well-matched group here. Some really good betting races on this Saturday card at Belmont. Where did you land in the Woody Stevens?
It's kind of like the East Coast Breeders' Cup, isn't it? You start looking at, I think pick 3 is where you get values, because I always like to play rolling pick 3s in the Breeders' Cup. So if you take a stand with one horse and you can just put him in the middle and in the back. This one's tough for me. I went with a little bit of a price here with Recruiting Ready. He's coming off 3 straight wins at 3 different race courses, Laurel, Oaklawn, and Pimlico. So he takes his race with him, doing really well right now. Never has run at Belmont. 7 furlongs. He has not run at 7 furlongs, but he's running a mile, so the distance isn't challenging him, but it is stretching out from his last 3 races. Thought I'd get a price here. Also like Classic Rock at 10-1. I like Wild Shot at 4-1. Probably going to be a favorite here off that Pat Day mile. But American Anthem, he may not be the favorite, because American Anthem was Baffert off the Las Barrera with Mike Smith. So you're going to get a lot of choices here. I can make a case for Long Haul Bay, who's 2 for 2 for Ted Brown, and Petrov coming out of the Arkansas Derby. So you can go a lot of ways here. At 6-1, I think I'll take a shot on Recruiting Ready. I would take those odds on him in this field, but you can go very deep in pick 3, I think.
It's kind of between 2 horses here. I finally did the slight lean to Wild Shot. I think this horse, after trying to make him into a Derby horse, they decided to turn him back to what I think is going to be his best game, which is longer sprints, 7 furlongs a mile, going around one turn. And he jumped up with a 97 buyer in the Pat Day mile, and he runs back to that, I think he's going to be tough to beat here for Rusty Arnold. Petrov, though, I think is dangerous at 8-1. You mentioned coming out of the Arkansas Derby, so he's dropping out of classy races like Wild Shot was when he dropped into the Pate Mile. Petrov is turning back from those longer races against that tougher company, and I think that could serve him well. I think Tom's Ready was in that same boat last year when he came into this race and ran so well. So I think the way I would play the exacta in here is use both of those horses, and then so 7 and 11, and use them with 7, 11, and then I would also use Long Haul Bay and American Anthem in the 2-hole. But for a win pick, I will lean to Wild Shot, but I would definitely want to spread out here starting next with Petrov in multi-race wagers. The next race begins the all-stakes pick 4, and it's all grade 1s, and it starts with the grade 1 Just a Game at a mile for fillies and mares 3 and up. You've got Dickinson, who beat Lady Eli at Keeneland, Roca Rojo, who was so good on Derby Day, and you got the defending champ Celestine. And I think for the pick 4, I would just use those 3. I'm going to take Celestine to win just because a little better priced, and I don't see a whole lot of difference between these. But in the race, you could play a 3-horse exacta box. But I just, based on price, take Celestine, Roca Rojo, and Dickinson. Though, I think any of those 3 I could easily see winning this race. How about you?
And my top pick would be Dickinson. There's no way after I watched that race where she beat Lady Eli in the Jenny Wiley that I can't bet on her, because there's no way she should have won. She was boxed in on the inside, and Paco swung her out, and she ran down what to me is the best older mare in the country. So I think Dickinson deserves favoritism here, but I can make a case for Roca Rojo, Celestine, and another horse that you don't forget about, Chad Brown's quote-unquote other horse. And she's moving way up in class, but her first North American win was at Keeneland. Antono, I don't know if we ever figured out how to pronounce that when we were talking about her at Keeneland. But she looked really good on the 14th of April and won by 2 1/4 after a bad start. And even says in the running line, said shot away. If you go back and watch that race, she was finishing strong. And I think a mile suits her well. And sometimes Chad's other horse does just as well as Roca Rojo. So I think she moves way up here. I would not leave her out in multi-leg wagers. Except for the fact when you go to start a pick 4, you got to cut them out somewhere. So I would like to include her here. I think in my pick 4, I left her out, but I'm going to do a saver ticket, putting her in with a couple of singles later on. So Dickinson's my pick, but Roca Rojo, Antono, and Celestine also have a shot.
Let's move on to the Grade 1 Met Mile, always one of my favorite races, and it's now moved to this Belmont Day card. So 2 races before the Belmont, the Met Mile, and big field here. Where did you land?
I landed on Sharp Azteca, but I've got a big question mark about coming back from Dubai. I always worry about horses shipping back. He ran very well over there and got beat by a length, got caught 100 yards out by Second Summer. But if he comes back with his form that he showed at Gulfstream prior to that, I think he's going to be tough to handle here. But you always have a question mark. Do they come back as good when they ship to Dubai? He's given him Jorge Navarro has given him 3 months off to get ready for this. So I'm going to take a chance and say that he is. You can also make a case for Awesome Slew, the 12 horse, who was extremely impressive in the Commonwealth at Keeneland and came back and ran well to Liberal on Derby Day. So got a good second in the Churchill Downs. So I can make a case for Awesome Slew. I can make a case for Rally Cry for Pletcher from the inside. He's got a 106 buyer at Belmont. More Spirit, who's been around the world since coming out of California, and been to Oaklawn and Lone Star and Churchill. So three great races in a row for More Spirit with ascending buyers for Baffert. You always got to put him in there. Tommy Macho, the 11. Denman's Call, the 3. They all have a shot. I'm going to give you a long shot special here. This is a horse that I'm going to stick in my multi-leg wagers. Nobody's thought about him for a long time. Mo Heyman and Kieran McLaughlin raved about his last couple of works. And if you go back to May 28th, he had a 47 flat, 4 furlongs, best of 93 at the distance. Nobody's thought about him for a long time, but he was the favorite in the Florida Derby last year at 4-5. and some things went wrong. He didn't do as well in the Derby, but got a lot of back class, and he may show up with a big race here at a huge price. So I'm going to throw him into my exotics in my pick 4. But Sharp Azteca is my pick based on recent form.
I am going to look for a price in here because it is such a well-matched race. And I think the favorite's vulnerable. More Spirit's got some big figs, but doesn't have a lot of great grade 1 form. And I just think can be vulnerable in this spot, but will take a lot of money coming out of the Baffert barn. I was kind of between Tommy Macho and Awesome Slew. I went to Tommy Macho at 10-1 in the morning line if that holds. Of course, has a good record at Belmont and at the 1 mile distance. I like both of those things. And I think he's got I've always thought this horse had grade 1 ability, so this could be the time. But Awesome Slew, I had in the Commonwealth at Keeneland. Used him at the Churchill Downs race, and he had some traffic, was flying late, just missed, and Limousine Liberal came back and was a real impressive winner next out. So I think he's got a big shot. Sharp Azteca, I would use More Spirit in multi-race wagers. And Tom's Ready, I thought, ran big. If you are in the camp that there was an inside bias on the Derby Day card, he was out in the middle of the track and coming late and just missed. So I think he won on this day last year as a 3-year-old. So I think he's bears watching as well. So I would use all of those in an exacta box, as many as you can afford, with More Spirit being the last of the group for me. And then Tommy Macho is going to be my win pick, and I'd use all those horses in the multi-race wagers in the pick 4. 10th race gets us to the grade 1 Manhattan at 1.25 miles on the turf. And when we get to the pick 4 here in a second, just to keep the ticket affordable, I was going so deep in other races that I needed to find a single to keep it affordable. So I'm going to time test here for Chad Brown. Of course, I encountered trouble in the U.S. debut, but this horse won a Group 2 in Europe and placed in a Group 1. And I think really may move up a lot on the stretch out to 1.25 miles. So I think time test, and I heard Mike Welsh, the Racing Form Clocker, talking up this horse's workout on Steve Vick's Sirius radio show earlier this week. So time test for me, but I would use him in the race with Beach Patrol, Divisadero, World Approval, and Sadler's Joy also, who I think will be better on a firm turf course. But time test is my pick to win the Manhattan. How about you?
That's a pretty strong single.
It's not probably the smartest play, but I'd love to use Divisadero as well and some of those others, but the ticket gets real expensive real quick.
Yeah, I understand that. I did the same thing, but I didn't. I used time test. I done single here, but my pick is Divisadero. I think that the race that he ran at Churchill, and everybody makes a big deal about he's always going to win on Derby Day, and that's true. He's won the last couple of years on Derby Day, but he got really better. I mean, he was way out of it and ran down Beach Patrol when I didn't think he had a shot to get him, and he actually passed him fairly easily, beat Oscar Nominated, who's come back to win. I think Bradley has him back on the top of his game. He got beat here last year, ran a 104 buyer, ran behind Flintshire and Ironicus, and World Approval beat him. World Approval could beat him again on Saturday. But I think the Divisadero is getting better at the right time. He's 5 now. He's more mature. He's got 2 really good races in him this year, and I thought the Turf Classic at Churchill sets him up perfectly for this, and I think he's going to run a big race. I would also use Beach Patrol, and I would take a try with Divisadero over Beach Patrol the 1, World Approval the 3, Wake Forest the 2, and Time Test the 4. And those would be the 5 horses I would actually use in the pick 4. But you made a good case on Sadler's Joy. I hate to leave him out because I think they've all got a shot in here except possibly Applicator. So nice race, and good luck on your single there because that will clear the deck for a lot of other horses in the other races.
Yeah, and I want to use a bunch in the next race, which is the Grade 1 Belmont Stakes. The 11th race on the card wraps up this all Grade 1 pick 4. Where are you going in the Belmont?
Well, I am going to – this race has bomb written all over it. I looked at the race. I've had dozens of people ask me this week who I like. I don't really like anybody. I mean, the race turned out to be by attrition, obviously, and Classic Empire scratching out this week was huge because I would have liked him in here. With him out, I can't see any standouts at all. So I am definitely shopping for a price, and I am going to go for one of the longest prices in the field. And everybody's going to laugh at me, but you may not be laughing when it's over because I really think that the favorites are so vulnerable here. I'm going to go with Hollywood Handsome. Dallas Stewart has a habit of getting horses ready for 3-year-old races. He's run second in the Belmont. He's run second in the Kentucky Derby. This horse was ready for the Louisiana Derby, got a kind of a rough trip there, and did not run a step in Illinois. And that kind of bothers me because that was not, the Illinois Derby was not a top flight race with Multiplier coming out there and hedge fund bombing. Multiplier did come back and won his next race. But Hollywood Handsome might like the distance, I just don't see a standout here, and I think if he improves on his buyer scale, he's gone from 86 to 81 and up to 88. If he runs the mid-90s, I think that's good enough to win here because nobody's outstanding. Teprit is my second choice. He was wiped out at the start of the Kentucky Derby, and I'm going to give him a second chance. Nobody in the Derby is in top form, but Teprit, Irish War Cry to some extent. A couple others got slammed. McCracken lost all chance, so I'm going to throw Teprit in there with that group. If he recovers his Tampa form, he could be formidable, and he's going to be a reasonable price. Ortiz sticks with him, and you know how good he is at Belmont. Looking at Lee is going to run third or fourth. I would not bet him with your money to win, but I would bet him with your money to show or to fill out the superfecta. He's good enough to get in the money, but I just don't see him having the positional speed to win. Irish War Cry is either going to win it or finish out of the money. If he runs to his Wood Memorial, he can win it. If he runs to his Derby form, he's out of the money because I thought he was going to win top of the stretch. And then my fifth horse in here, Gormley, I think, the Santa Anita Derby winner, had a rough trip in the Derby. I'm going to throw that one out and give him a shot. He was not considered a fast horse coming out of the Santa Anita Derby, but he fits with these, and it's a great betting race. And it's somebody's going to get a Grade 1 win out of here, and somebody's going to get a Triple Crown win. I liked Epicaris out of Japan until we heard on Thursday that he's got some lameness issues, and he hasn't scratched as of yet when we're recording this, but I certainly don't like that going up to a Triple Crown race, so I'm going to throw him out as well, even though I did like his form coming out of the UAE Derby. So taking a wild shot here, going to get 30-1, 40-1, something like that with Hollywood Handsome, but I'll either be brilliant or just throw my tickets away.
If you box the two horses we're picking for the Belmont in an exacta, it'll pay off the charts because I'm looking at the race the same way you are. I was looking for a price, and I ended up back to a horse that I actually picked to win the Bluegrass, J-Boy's Echo. This horse had on June the 3rd had a real sharp workout at Churchill. He's not been known as a sharp morning workhorse, and I heard the clocker at Churchill's is the best he's ever seen him work. Horse by Mineshaft makes him a grandson of AP Indy, so he should certainly handle the 1.5 miles with no difficulty. Dale Romans, can light up the tote board. He's kind of like a current era Wayne Lucas, that he's not afraid to run them in spots where other people are thinking he has no shot. And this is one of two horses in the field that's got a buyer figure over 100 this year, and he'll be 25-1 or better. So I'm going to take J-Boy's Echo, and then I would use just an exacta box. I actually have Hollywood Handsome in my exacta box. Senior Investment, winner of the Lexington at Keeneland, I'm going to throw in there. Irish War Cry, I got to use. And, I think there's a lot to like about him. Graham Motion's good in these marathon races, but as the favorite, I just couldn't take Irish War Cry. Teprit I would use in my exacta box as well. So those 5 horses would be the ones for me. But J-Boy's Echo is going to be my win pick. Use all 5 of those in an exacta box, and if you hit it, I think there's a good chance it's going to play really well. And then I would use all 5 of those in my pick 4, which we'll get to now. It starts back in the 8th race. So I'm going to use the 3 that I mentioned, Celestine, Rocco Rojo, and Dickinson. I'm going to use the 5 horses that I went with in the Met Mile, single time test, and use 5 in the Belmont. So that's a $75 ticket for $1. Cut it in half, and so you're a little under $40 for the pick 4 ticket if you single time test. If you want to double that, then I would add Divisadero in the Manhattan would be my next pick in there. How about your pick 4 ticket?
Yeah, I think you ought to spend the extra money there. I think you ought to spend the extra money. You can write it down that I will do an exacta box 4 or 5 in the Belmont. There is no doubt that I will bet that because it'll pay $600-800. So there you have it. Tom Leach and Jim Goodman exacta box in the Belmont. Okay, my pick four, I had a really expensive one. I cut it down to $105, and I've got some spread in the middle races where I think they're just wide open. I did cut it down to two in the first race. Dickinson the one and Rocco Rojo the two. So two horses in the first. Rally Cry the two, Denman's Call the three, Sharp Azteca the five, Mohaman the six, More Spirit the nine, Tommy Macho the 11, and Awesome Slew the 12. So seven horses going in the Met Mile. In the turf race, the Woodford Reserve, I used Beach Patrol the one, Wake Forest the two, World Approval the three, Time Test the four, and Devisadero the seven, with Devisadero being my top pick. So if you want to cut that back, I would go Devisadero, Time Test, and Beach Patrol in that order probably. And then I only used three horses in the Belmont, with Taprit the two, Hollywood Handsome the five, and Irish War Cry the seven. So 2 by 7 by 5 by 3 is $105.
Best of luck with your wagers on the Saturday card at Belmont. Remember to fund a Keelan Select account if you're going to a party. You're going to be at the baseball game in Louisville. You can, with your Keelan Select account on your phone, you can follow the odds, follow the video, make bets, and there is a chance at a Triple Crown. A Keelan Sales grad won the Derby, a Keelan Sales grad won the Preakness, and there are 6 Keelan Sales grads in the Belmont. So maybe we'll have that version of the Triple Crown. Yeah. So we'll see you on Saturday. Best of luck, everybody. This is the In the Money podcast for KeelanSelect.com.